purpose of this meeting is to discuss the upcoming budget that, for the next fiscal year. We do have supervisors from each department that'll be here as well, and they will be going over some of their concerns, some of their needs, and what have you. And of course, the councilmen are here as well. So on that, I'd like to first give each one of the superintendents an opportunity to just kind of discuss some of your concerns for this next year in regards to the budget and some of the things that you'd like to see on the budget, if you will. So whichever one of you would like to go first.
I'll go first.
Yes, sir.
I honestly will tell you that I can't give you anything at this point in time because all I knew is that we were having a budget meeting this morning, but as far as the details and context of what this meeting was to involve, I had no knowledge of. So I came unprepared to give you anything that you're looking for. So my apologies for that.
Very good.
There's some things in the water and sewer department that we continue to work on. I've given a couple of things to Larry that he's aware of and consider. Obviously, we all know we want to continue to replace fire hydrants in town. It's a big thing. We got 6 of them done last year. I think our goal was a little higher than that, but we did all right. They're $3,000 a piece to put them in. Manpower. One, we had to we outsourced it to see how that would go. Obviously, that was a little bit more expensive. The water at that fire hydrant didn't want to shut off, so we put it down about half live. Took about a day and a half to get it done.
How much did you say a piece?
About $3,000
$3,000.
each.
Okay.
Meters have always, we continue to put meters in, knock on doors, look around for zero read meters. They're $200 a piece plus man hours to put them in. Some of them slide right in there, others don't. As far as, we got a cemetery lift station is an issue. We've got a couple of things there. The generator is not functioning, and we need to figure out why and maybe upgrade it or fix the existing generator. As far as capital improvements, I didn't consider any big projects. You know, those little things there eat up the budget pretty darn fast.
Okay. The fire hydrants, you say they're $3,000 to replace one. Is that outsourcing it?
No, that's what the materials cost for the fire hydrant, the anchor coupling, the valve, and the piping and box. That's just a fire hydrant's about $2,300. A valve is $500.
Okay. And you said you replaced 6 of them.
We got 6 fire hydrants.
How many to go?
How many are left that need replaced?
Yeah.
Oh, well, as far as ones that, we don't have any, to my knowledge, that don't work. We have some that are a little bit shaky as far as not shutting off is an issue with some of them. Some of them, when you open them, they chatter really, really bad, which makes you nervous that it's going to break the water main.
The chatter's coming from what?
The chatter comes from them being so old and the linkages in the bottom and the way they were built back in, it wasn't a gate valve system back in the day. These old cords,
Stop type valve.
it's all a bunch of little pieces and parts, and they've just worn out, so they chatter really bad. To get all those replaced, I would say there's 20 at least. But that's a rough guess. I haven't gone.
Well, okay. The other thing too is the fire department's involved in this too a little bit, and we went to them and see if they would help out on this because it is it's a twofold thing. You know, it's a city responsibility. We own the water system. We own the distribution system and everything. But then too, the fire department, and I think if we approached them, maybe they might be able to kick something in to help in replacing these hydrants that are bad.
It's a possibility. I don't know, but I think that you'd probably find out that they've got some of their own budgetary issues that they're dealing with right now. So, I mean, it's something that could be.
I think it's something that needs to be explored, Larry.
Yeah, I think we need.
I think you need to go to them and say, hey, can we work out something here? We don't want to work against them. We're all taxing entities, so we need to.
And I think we are working with them by replacing as many as we can in a speedy process.
We're doing some of our part and everything. We can go and ask them to help out. too. How many total fire hydrants do we have in town?
Ooh, I have a list, but I haven't actually counted them. I don't know. I can get that number for you though. The fire department has a list also, don't take that, I think. Quite a few.
Well, I guess, you know, I would think that we'd get the worst ones first, the oldest ones first, and, you know, start working back and everything, and then we should be good for a while. Okay, that's the first thing. Meters. As far as the list we had of people who had meters that did not work, that we're not recording, where are we at on that? How many of those do we have replaced?
As we go through that list, we find that that list sometimes, when a meter doesn't move at all in a month, it goes on the zero read meter list. Now, sometimes people don't live in that house. Sometimes people are in a nursing home. So there's various reasons why these things don't move month to month. But we continue to knock on doors. The list is still at least 25 people on it that are zero read meters. And I have a hard time getting in people's houses. I try to make appointments, you know, and when their meter doesn't turn, they're pretty happy, to be quite honest.
We've sent out numerous letters, Willard. We've made phone calls. People will tell you, yeah, we'll be there. The guys show up and there's nobody there. So, I mean, there's a diligent effort to get these monitors up and running. So, and then as the new list comes out, then Calvin's given those and he gets to them as soon as he can. But I mean, that list has really been knocked down. And Calvin's right that list that came out was a little deceiving because there were people on there that were deceased and been deceased for years. But there wasn't, when that list came out, you know, it went out and some of the people in City Hall that they don't live in Farmer City or they don't know this person and don't know that person. And so that list was deceiving.
And another thing also is, and you know this probably, but we do also charge the minimum. I mean, these people don't get away completely scot-free.
I realize that we're paying, but we're not getting
Right.
the
We're
full
not getting
Monty
full
out on
amount.
everything.
In some cases, we're not, and it doesn't help us identify if they got a leak in the house or something like that. We want the meters functioning, obviously. Sometimes, you know, people work during the day too, you know, they have reasons. They're not just trying to hide out, I'm sure.
Well, I can understand the problem here because being in the business I'm in, I rent equipment, and some people move in, people move out of houses, then new people move in, and you don't know all this happens and everything.
That's
But
correct.
of course, mine are not all contained right here in Farmer City, which I think we have an advantage in that respect. When you've got a 40-mile radius to cover and got to keep track of all these people next door. And it gets frustrating. And you start feeling like you're losing money. But
And these guys are making appointments also to install water meters on Saturdays. So, you know, so we're making a pretty diligent effort to try to get these things upgraded. Some people, as Calvin said, they're going away to work Monday through Friday, so on a Saturday morning, when the guys are here in town checking the water plant, checking the sewer plant, and we're trying to get
are we
some-
putting these remote reads on pits?
We put them in houses, we put them in pits, yes.
Okay.
Pits are a little easier, unless there's a problem. Some of many of the pits in this town are kind of antiquated, and the shut-offs in there don't work, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. Then you gotta bring backhoe in there, dig down, crimp it off, stick a valve on it. And valve's $100. I don't know what you put your cost of the backhoe operator. He works for us anyway, but, you know, the more we do, the more expensive we get, and when we pull it out and break something, we gotta put a new lid on it. Some of those legal repairs in the pits, like we did one out on 54 there, I bet we got $500 just in parts on it.
Well, that's going to happen, and we're going to run it because things have been taken care of.
If you gotta put a new valve on it, and you gotta put a new yoke on it, and you gotta put a $200 meter on it, and spend a half a day doing it.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you know, there's a
Quite
lot.
honestly, I can't remember the last time I ever seen the city put in a pit meter. And I'm not slamming anybody for this, but I mean, growing up here, I don't ever remember seeing that as a kid. You know, where they dug down and they put a pit meter into a line when they're building a house or something like that. I just can't remember. that ever happened. And I felt that when I was growing up here, that I was out and about enough to know, to see a lot of things. And
Well, if you remember, Willard, when I was reading those meters, and excuse me, my name is Wally Miller. Some of you don't realize I took over for Rick. I took blue paint. There are lots of pit meters.
oh
in
my
this
God, there is a lot of
I
things.
mean, and I sprayed them all blue, and then we, you know, so that we had an idea of where they were at. Some of these that Calvin is working on run 4 to 5 blocks from a house. You know, they're in your yard. There might be a pit meter, but it's for 5 houses down the way. So I mean, there's a lot of, you know.
You know, and that's something else too. I mean, I'm not going to harp on that to get it done, but in time, that maybe we can get that cleared up and get it on the property that it should be on. And of course, if there's a basement in the house, to get it in the basement.
It's ideal to put it in the basement, and I like that, but then I gotta go in there, if it's a pit meter, then I gotta bypass the pit meter, and then I gotta go in the house and replumb it, and I'm not, you know.
That's not what we did at my house. We just filled it in.
Oh, you just-
That was the thing to do about 30 years ago. It was just, we'll
And then when
push
does,
some dirt in there and just ignore it and go on.
so when it leaks, let me know.
That was the way it was fixed back then, so.
Right.
Because I put a new line into my house. Well, it's shut off, it's still there, the pit meter's still there, but it's over, I got stuff over it now, and I just ignore it, but I put a new line into my house.
The proper way to do that is to go back to the water main and shut the cork stop off there, so the line
Yeah.
doesn't leak in.
Yeah, I got a box out there and everything in my yard, and it's covered up too, because it was put in wrong, but I know where it's at, as long as I'm alive, if I want to dig down and get it up, I can get it up, but,
And the EPA's changed some standards here too, you know, and we're trying to work within the rules here. Calvin talks about a pit meter that may be, you know, down the street a half a block or whatever, because that may be the closest water main. But now you cannot encroach upon somebody else's property. So if that house is 3 houses away, and that's the closest water main, and you have to go across someone else's property, now you have to extend the water main. Now you're incurring a lot of other expenses. So, you know, even though, yes, we do need to upgrade, we gotta take it in baby steps, because the way that the town was laid out over the years, and what was acceptable or what was done, the times have changed. So, you know, I mean, the costs just skyrocket, because the EPA is, I mean, they're putting the thumbs on you.
So you can't run a service line across somebody else's property, it's against the law.
well, yeah, you couldn't do that anymore, that's totally out. But the way they did things 60, 70 years ago was just unbelievable. Okay, I do want you to keep working on that, and maybe we'll talk about something a little bit later to figure out how to fund that too.
We buy meters usually in 2 dozen at a time, and then try to get those in.
How many have you replaced?
Since I've been here? Oh, I would have to look again. We keep a record of every one. I don't know exactly how many off the top of my head. Like him, I wasn't sure what the questions were gonna be and what I needed to prepare for us. But I can get that number for you. It's very easily done. I have a record at the light plant. Every meter we change because we put a radio read meter in, so we can keep track of our.
We're talking several, though, I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
Talking 100, 200?
I would say close to 100, probably.
How many meters do we have in town?
I think it's 900 and something. And so we got probably 700 to go for radio read, $200 a piece. Plus the accessories if they're needed. I'll take gaskets, they said shut-offs.
Definitely gonna be a slow process.
No, it doesn't, I don't go along with that. There's other towns that are doing this, and they can do it. Now, we're going to figure out how we can do it a little bit faster, because we're not going to sit and wait 10 years to replace these meters out. We need to get a time frame and get it set down that we're going to do it within 3 years or something like that, figure out how we're going to do it in that time frame. We're not going to sit back and just keep we just do this. That's how it's been done forever. We're not going to do that anymore. That's not the way to do things around here.
Time frame's not gonna probably be the financial though.
Well,
That's what I'm getting right now.
You just hold on before we're through with this thing, maybe we can talk about how the financial thing goes on. That's the other thing you
Just
got.
don't forget, Willard, you got 4 other people sitting.
I realize, I'm gonna show you something else.
That's fine.
Okay,
But
I know who's sitting here. Mac, I know what's going
calm
on.
down there, big boy. We're not here to argue.
Well, I said, we'll get this figured out, but we gotta do something. We can't keep going on.
I know,
We're
but this
losing
guy's
money.
doing a good job.
He's doing a good job. He's doing the best he can do with what he's got right now.
Right.
How much is a rate study, Larry? What would we look at a rate study of, especially in regards to the sewer fund? I'm looking at a rate study this next year.
Okay.
Right now, currently, we're at 83% of the fiscal year has elapsed from our last one. We haven't had any major expenditures in the sewer fund.
Actually, we have.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the budget right here. We've got one that's 1,334% of the budget, but that was a 6,671. And then we had one that was 184% over budget, but that was 4,600. Is there another item here that I'm not seeing that's?
We've got I came to you about the Center Street lift station and how that thing had been running for years on one motor.
That's not in here though.
That's not in there because,
Real quick though, but based on the numbers right here, just on tracking these numbers, we are $95,440 over budget. We've spent $95,440 more than what we brought in on the sewer fund. So I guess my question is, how much is a rate study? How much would a rate study cost to see if we can't get these fees under control? Because right now we don't have the money coming in.
I would
to
say
take care
about
of
$4 grand.
$4,000.
See, Mike, I think there's something else you're talking about doing a rate study. I think once we get our meters taken care of and everything, then we'll find out we'll get the revenue that we're losing, we'll pick back up. So we might not have to raise the fees. I think we have raised fees in the past. I don't know how long ago it's been, but I think you get once the meter thing gets taken care of, then if you can come in and do a rate study and see if we really need to do it. You know, we're losing money, you know, when it was like we had 100-some meters that weren't working, or, you know, for whatever reason, you know, if they're not working and people are living in the residence and we're just letting them pay minimum and go from there, that's not good. If the house is not being occupied, then of course we're not getting anything at all. So if somebody's paying the bill, which I assume they are, they wouldn't have the water shut off. I don't know, but if they're living there, you know, and we're getting zero, we're not getting anything above the minimum, that's our fault, and we need to get that taken care of.
And you said about 100 meters that need to be replaced still?
No, you got 100 already replaced.
Oh, 100 already replaced.
About 800 left.
No, there's many.
But that's in everybody if you're gonna do a remote read.
But there's only 25 dead meters, right?
I think probably about 25 zero read meters where there's people actually living in the house, using water and.
Okay, you got about that many left out of maybe the 150 that we did have that were not being read right or.
I never saw a list that was 150. To the best of my knowledge, in going through it with the meter reader, there was like 55. You know, the list was extensive, but most of them were houses that were sitting, a lot of them were houses that were sitting empty.
Okay.
And I have him go through it with me and cross those off. So, you know, I'm trying to focus on ones that I know somebody's in there and the thing is broken.
If we were to pay somebody to replace these 20, understand you're swamped and you got to find the time to do it. If we were to pay somebody else to come in and fix those 25s, what would we be looking about per meter?
Oh, well, you're gonna have to pay prevailing wage plumber. So it depends how long it takes them. Each thing would be different. At least, I would say several $100s per meter,
$200-300 per meter.
at least.
So $10,000, $5,000 for the meters, $5,000 for bringing somebody else in. It's about a $10,000 expense to fix those 25 meters. But once those 25 meters are up and running, every single month we'll start getting revenue source from those.
Our biggest concern though is not that, they're not gonna let a plumber in there any easier than they let me in there. Make an appointment, that's what I gotta do. People don't let me in the place.
Well, we need some recourse on that.
I can shut
Some
their
way,
water off.
they have to let us in there to take care of that. We have to make arrangements, you know, they think that we don't want you in here. Well, yeah, this is a little different entity.
They don't respond, they don't say.
Okay, they
they're not
don't
letting
respond,
me
but there's another way to make them respond to us and everything. There's gotta be,
in.
because
I can shut their water off.
that's true, you can shut their water off and that'll get their attention.
shut their power. It's gonna get your guys' attention too.
That's okay.
It's not gonna be very, not gonna be very
There's various
popular
reasons
person.
why, you know, it's not necessarily a younger person, it could be an elderly person. There's various reasons why they're reluctant to let this gentleman or anybody in their house. You know, it's not necessarily that they're hiding something. There's various reasons.
There's security and all that, but there's still enough
If
people
you
that
go
know each other around here.
Let's just say, you know, it came down to somebody, you know, you go down there with a police officer, you know, maybe they feel more comfortable with that person around. Fine, then we can do it that way. Some way, but there's a way to access into the residence to get things taken care of.
Some of them I can shut off, and I say that, I could shut their water off, but some of them I can't shut their water off, because back in the day, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but somebody bought a lot of plastic valve boxes
Mm.
and put them in this town. And once the little tiny washer that was on the top is missing from the valve box, then you can't really find the shut off. So sometimes that can be tricky.
In the upcoming year, though, especially the dead ones, immediately, I mean, we need to get those rectified, whatever we need to do, because that's every single month, there's revenue being lost. I don't
Just
think
off the
it's-
top of your head, okay, we got some dead meters. What kind of dollars, and I know you can't, are we missing?
I have no idea what
I mean, are we
what the
talking-
possibility of them using in a month of water, you know? If it's a house with 2 old people in it, and the wire has come off the meter, and they just use the minimum and they don't have a leak, then it's 0. You know, I don't know how much, I don't have a clue what a person could use if they would have a leaky toilet, or what kind of, you know, and in those situations, I don't know, depends on the size of the family, the size of the house.
I'm just wondering if,
Yeah.
I don't know that, I mean, I don't know.
I don't do billing, so
Right.
I don't know.
You figure $100 per, or 100 gallons per person per day is what you use, is kind of the same, anywhere from 80 to 100 gallons per person per day. And so an average family will use, kids growing up and everything. At my house, we use 12,000 gallons of water a month at one time.
Okay,
But normally you would use about 6,000 to 8,000 gallons a month.
in dollars.
Well, I don't know, because I don't know the rates. Guess if you tell me what the rates are, I can sit here and figure it, but I don't, but if you want to figure that, you can figure
Figure
60, you
75
can sit
bucks a
there,
month.
you
It
can
is
take,
in the
you can
ordinance
take,
book.
I don't know.
I mean, just a guesstimation, maybe $70 a month.
$70 a month.
that's another thing I'll bring up too, we talk about rates.
That's high,
That high.
way high.
Okay,
So
so,
figure 40.
and then we're talking $50 a month. I mean, I don't know that that's our cure-all. Without, I mean, I don't know what kind of dollars we're talking, but I don't think it's enough to generate the revenue we need to fix.
Why not be?
I just don't know. I think,
The other thing too, Mac, is our meters, how accurate they are that we have out there. That's another thing too. If they're reading properly or not, they might be reading, but they might not be reading properly. So that's the other thing too. That's why the expediting this process of replacing those meters needs to, we need to look at it, because maybe we're not getting enough revenue just because of that.
Or maybe we're getting too much.
And we might be getting too much. But it goes both ways.
I can provide, at the next meeting, I'll give you the latest, greatest rate study that was provided by a regional engineering firm, and it'll show you where Farmer City is on their water and sewer. And I believe, and I know that the mayor's gotten them over the years, and I believe that you'll see that Farmer City's right in the middle. You know, we're not low, we're not on the high side. We've been accused of being on the high side, doing this, we're really not. We're right there in the middle of about 100 communities in central Illinois, so it's a very good rate study. So I'll get that information to you, and then you'll know where we're at, and then you can decide if you'd rather be in the top third.
Here's the other thing too, is, you know how much water you're pumping out each day, don't you, to the town, to the community? So you know how many millions of gallons is going out each day, and how many millions of gallons how many gallons are we billing for? Because that would be the other thing too, what's our percentage of loss? Whether it's 5%, 10%, 30%, I think that's something that I think needs to be something that you should be able to have for us if we ask for it. I'm not saying every month, but I'm saying maybe over every 6 months to say, over this time period we've lost this kind of
I think the majority, and this is just.
Or somewhere that comes from, whether it's from you, Calvin,
Right.
whether it's from in here, because it's both places that have to.
Oh, yeah.
But I think if I was in your position, and Larry, if I was in yours, I'd want to know that too. You know, what is the percentage of loss that we have?
I think you're finding most of that loss that comes from water leaks, you know.
Well, that's true. Well, it could be, and I know water leaks, when you're treating water, when we build this treatment plant, nobody here in this room had anything to do with it as far as that goes. But I sit there and question that the treatment plant's as good as the operator that takes care of it. And if you were gonna spend all this money, and it was done for, one mayor's satisfaction and one water superintendent's satisfaction to have it done, and think it's gonna be a big plus for the town. Was it? Yeah, it's helped. It's helped. I can't say it hasn't helped. Didn't drive me out of business. Didn't really hurt me at all. Didn't enhance my business to have it put in and everything. I really questioned whether it was the right thing to do. Certain things did need to be done whenever they came in and treated the water. We had a gas problem that needed to be taken care of, and we had an iron problem that needed to be taken care of. But another problem too that wasn't getting taken care of and should have been, and that's flushing those mains. And I hope you have a schedule for that as the weather starts to break here to get that done, because I think that is a big plus to help us out here in town. I know certain areas people complain to me about that. My water is, it's colored and everything else now. And I think I live in one of the I do live in one of the older areas of town that has some of the older mains, but I don't really have any problem there, no matter what. It's just, I get along pretty well. And I told people it all depends on where you live at in town, because I got one that's close. It's a customer that lives over here, and he complains to me about discolored water and everything. And I said, I don't know. I said, I can't help you. I do whatever. We can filter all we want. I said, it's just going to take time for it to work out. And of course, the treatment plant helps that. If you have it up and going and in good shape and everything, that water coming through those mains will clean those pipes out and everything, and probably also break loose some things that are keeping from leaking and causing them to start leaking.
In the last year, we've tried to make some improvements on that. When I started, the softeners weren't functioning. We spent quite a bit of money on controllers to run those, and we cleaned the brine pit out, and we got those going pretty good. Softeners are fully functioning and automatic now, and that's a help. That's going to polish off the water. We've got them on a schedule of rinsing the filters every day. Chad is the water operator. He backwashes the filters every day. And like you said, the fire hydrants, we flushed them pretty good in the fall. Some of the philosophy in the past has been to flush the fire hydrants real slow. I am of a little bit different opinion. I open them up and blow the stuff out, try to get the sediment out. We've begun to feed a chemical that's supposed to help to loosen some of that stuff, that years and years of iron deposits in the water mains, which are very, very old. In the instance of some people and other people, if you're on a dead-end water main that doesn't loop around, then you'll get that, and we try to more routinely flush those fire hydrants. We had a really dirty water tower. We cleaned a lot of stuff out of there. And in the budget this year, we need to look at doing that again, because they got everything pretty well cleaned out, but some of those inspection results didn't come back so great. And we need to get in there again this year and take a look at it, clean it out again, make sure we got everything. As we flush the water mains and we feed the chemical, that stuff's going somewhere, so we got to keep after it. We got to flush it out. We got to clean our water tower. There's the aeration tank that's at the water plant, and it hasn't been cleaned to my knowledge ever. Might be something you want to look at. I've got a list of stuff if you guys want to spend a whole lot of money.
I just want to make a comment on what you said about your hydrants. I personally, when you flushed it down at the east end of High Street, I saw the difference. Actually, could see the difference in the water. It had a sparkle to it, I guess, and the taste was much better. So that was a great thing.
We're going to do that in spring and fall. That uses a ton of water when we do that. We also broke a couple fire hydrants when we did it, and one of them shut off. So you run the risk of water leaks when you run them like that, and of damaging fire hydrants, but that's part of it, right?
And each thing that Calvin has just said that has been brought to you guys, so you have been, over the year, you've been told about all that, and then I realized then boom, at the end, that, you know, you're like, wow. But if you remember correct, the water tower came back with poor results. So, not knowing yet how the revenue side's gonna look, but one thing that does need to be addressed this year is that water tower. That sediment that was in there, and I don't know if any of you ever looked at that recording of that, actually got in and saw that when they were in there moving around. But there is a lot of metal deterioration inside that water tower. So, the generator, Calvin came to me, the generator, backup generator that's out the water treatment plant. That thing is set there, it's a big old cat, set there, it hasn't been properly maintained. That thing needs looked at. There's 3 of them. There's one at the cemetery lift station, and we've had to put that on hold. Now, should we have a major storm come through, and should that thing be sitting out there by itself? Don't know if we're going to have water. If we have a no power outage, that main one sitting down there at the cemetery lift station, don't know. So, I mean, there's things that, you know, and we are really tackling the necessities, and I realize that water meters is the revenue side of it, but we're also tackling, well, what if, you know, we have a major sewer issue or something. So,
Well, I
with
guess,
Calvin, we're spreading it the best we can when it comes to making repairs.
let me ask about the generators. They're not started up and run. They don't automatically start up and run.
They won't run.
They won't run.
That's correct.
Damn.
On some of them, I would say that
They
parts
won't
are
run. They
missing.
won't. Parts are missing.
Appears to be.
Imagine that.
The one at the Center
Okay,
Street, or at the cemetery lift station, the battery charger went dead, and so I got wires that just, well, I got plugged a little house one in, and the wires went over here, and the panel's open, and you're welcome to come and see it, it's a real treat.
Like I say, I mean, the water meter is an issue we need to take care of, but
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, we have bigger fish to fry. I don't know what kind of revenue the water meter situation will bring in, but I'm almost certain that it won't tackle those issues.
And I'm not, no, I won't tackle those issues, and I like to work on the water meters, because every radio read water meter that I put in frees up a guy from reading that meter, you know, it's beautiful to walk by, and like you said, water meters slow down over time, and they're good to replace, and we've tried to do that, and I'm not against that, you know, anytime I have any spare time, anytime any of my guys got any spare time, I tell them, go knock on doors, go find some meters, you know. Yesterday we did 3, it wasn't wasn't gangbusters, but we got 3 done yesterday, so that was a good day.
Let's go back to the generators. You say they won't run. They won't run. They're not locked up, are they? Or they won't run. They're just maybe missing stuff where they can't be started up.
We hope they're not locked up.
The one at the water plant that Larry talked about, we had a $5,000 estimate to have that looked at. It hasn't run since I've been here, so I have no idea why it doesn't run. The one at the cemetery.
Can they be set up where they automatically start every so often?
They're supposed to be, but the transfer switches, you know, those are another, I don't know if the transfer switches are bad on them, I don't know why they don't run. There was no radiator cap on the one at the water plant, so that was a start, we gotta get a radiator cap. So, it's like that, you know.
Well, yeah, I guess we need to look at that. It'd be bad to.
And that's the thing, I mean, you know, when Calvin brings it to me, if it's something that really, you know, then I tell him to get it fixed, but there's been just a lot of things under his watch that he's plugging away at. And getting back, Mayor, you had asked me about the sewer fund, and I started to answer you there a minute ago, but the Center Street lift station. Those repairs have not been completed yet. They just called Calvin yesterday or Thursday, but now they're coming back to complete those. That's an antiquated lift station, and trying to bring that thing up to speed. I mean, that's going to be a pretty good deal there when that one gets finalized.
So, yeah, I'm just saying it's not represented right now, and that being said, not being represented, we're still $100,000 in the hole in that fund. And in the water fund, you have about, I think, as I recall, it's about $15,000 in the plus. We're not if you will, we're running a business. We're not making money for a depreciation cost. We're not making money to take care of the infrastructure that we have. I won't even say this, and I said this to you last week. We don't have a deteriorating system. We have a deteriorated system, and we have a few guys that's going to fix it. And on top of that, we're giving them lots of other stuff to do. So we got a major problem. And as far as I'm concerned, in 1 week, 6 months, we could wake up one day and we have a nightmare situation. Just a perfect storm happens. So
Well, and not to necessarily harp on anything, but Pat's asked a couple times before, and you never want to put something off or put somebody off, but he's asked about sewer down on Maple Street area, and that sewer needs to be upgraded. And Calvin and I have talked about this. Well, it has to be engineered first because you don't do anything without engineering. Then you have to apply for your permit, so that's a timely process, and that costs a lot of money just to do that. But then we don't have the money for the install. So some things get put on hold. So that now we've made, not to cut you off, I'm sorry. So what we're doing is, in a somewhat timely manner, we're spending to have that thing professionally cleaned, just to try to step ahead, stay ahead of it. That's only maybe $300 when they come out, and right now that's the best we can do because we can't afford to install the new sewer line down through there.
Which is still helping the people down.
We're helping them out. It's the best we can do right now, and that's just one thing. It's all over town.
The one thing about the generator, just to go back and just to touch on that, we're fortunate we have the power plant here that we can generate our own. And if we didn't have that, then we would really be in a lot worse shape because we're never going to be without power. I don't think we're ever going to be without power for really ever very long. The most I know we've ever been out without power, or anybody, not the whole town, but anybody in town has been 27 hours, and that was during an ice storm in the past. But we're very fortunate to.
We're fortunate to have that, but the lines, are the weak link there. The lines that go to the cemetery lift station. When the cemetery lift station goes down, and this is another thing, the EPA is making me install this year, before they'll give us a permit, a CSO blockage. We have combined sewer in Farmer City, so the way they designed it, when the sewer plant wasn't working, there's a manhole down there, that's kind of a relief that goes right to the river. And so there's sandbags in there right now, and if the cemetery lift station doesn't start and the power's out, the water will go straight to the creek. The EPA hates that, and they're making us install this year a valve on that we have to close and concrete it shut. So when we install that valve, that generator needs to start, because the water's not going to go out the relief valve anymore. It's going to head back up the hill. And like you said, that in that situation, that's perfect.
That's
storm.
a disaster.
You guys really do understand, we are being watched. And so we're trying to play Johnny Ketchup here, so we're not under the thumb screw.
Don't get the impression that we
No.
don't want to address these issues. If we need X amount of dollars, Willard's more up on this than I am, but there are ways to get money to do it. And we're not opposed to doing it. But,
The people of this town are going to have to understand that too, and it's going to come back and reflect on them. I don't care, if they don't like it, they don't like it, but this is what's going to happen. If you explain to them right, they probably will like it. They say, well, I don't want that to happen, so yeah, I guess we will pay for it. There's ways to do all this stuff. We're not the city. The people outside that door are the city. That's the city. We're just here just to set the policy and make sure everything flows right. We're not the city. A lot of people come up and blame the city. They blame you guys. They blame us. We've been through this enough, taken enough crap over the years that I understand what's going on.
Now, the lift station, everything will be getting done this year, this summer?
The Center Street lift station,
Yeah.
yes, that's going to get done Monday. Monday and Tuesday, that'll be finished. You're not seeing that in your budget. That's going to be a big bill. You're really going to be mad at me then. And
that's because after they got there, the more they got into it, the worse it got. So now you have pumps that were put in, back in the 60s or whatever. They're originals. And then so the new motors don't set on the bases, and then the bases won't fit into the plumbing. And, the farther they got, the worse it got. And
You've seen that Center Street lift station, how that operated, but there's two pumps in every lift station, and they should both work, and they should alternate, and then if one goes out, you turn the other one on, and it runs, you pull that one out and you fix it. Well, that one went out in there and it was never fixed. Oh, and when they pulled it out and they were gonna rebuild it, and they brought it back to the shop and they opened it up, it was a ball of rust, because it hadn't been run in 20 years. The way we did it at the Center Street lift station, when that one went out, we ran and got a pump, and you've seen it running across Center Street. That was the way we did it. We pumped it on down the road for a while instead of fixing it right. So that's why that's, like Larry said, that's an expensive fix, and because it got into more and more and more. But the alternative, and they brought that to you also, was over $100,000 to install a new lift station there. We decided to rehab this one. Hopefully, it's coming in at less than half of that. So. The cemetery lift station was redone also since I've been here, and that was an expensive thing. And it's functioning except for the generator, and then there's one other pump right down there that I would like to see fixed eventually.
What I'd like to see personally is you get, and I'm sure you do all the time, get with Larry, figure out what your major issues are, bring it to us, and we're gonna have to try to figure out a way to finance it.
I try to come and talk to Larry every day.
Yep.
yeah, I'm bringing it to you. I mean, I really do. It's just now you're getting it all at once.
That's all right.
You've gotten it before, but
That's
now we're
okay.
discussing lump sum.
We don't want the disaster.
Mhm. And that's what we really tried to avoid, so. Because we've seen several scenarios over the year that could have been disasters.
And it all takes money, one way or another, to happen. And we all know where our sewer system's at. It's not a secret.
That's why I want to make sure all the lift stations are up and ready, because it's getting to be that time.
Oh, yes, yep. When it gets wet.
Any other questions or comments to our water superintendent?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sir?
I guess it's my turn. Well, quite honestly, I've been in the job now for 2 months. Mark and I have split the department. Mark is trying to take care of the distribution part of it. I'm trying to take care of the generation part. We're trying to keep our budgets the same, because it's basically the electrical department, and that's how the budget is set up for the funds. So we're trying to work together. Unfortunately, Mark has been sick and is on the road to recovery, and he's doing very well. He just doesn't work full days. He's getting his strength back. So without him here, as far as the outside work, I know that the transformer has been delivered for your Casey's project, and most, if not all of the wire, I believe, has been purchased for that. This was all under last year's budget, with Rick getting everything in for that. There is going to be, according to Mark, when I've talked to him, there's going to be some boring and stuff, which we may have to contract out, because our particular boring machine that we have doesn't go big enough, because we're going to have to go under Oval Drive, and so the conduit will have to be bigger. So but as far as that big project there, I think we're set to do the work on that. As you know from your last meeting, my cooling tower developed some issues. I have the parts were delivered yesterday. They are at the plant, ready to go. I'm just waiting on the weather. Once the weather gets above about 50 degrees for a couple, 3 days, they will be able to do it. It's going to be about a week, if that much. I don't have to shut down the town. I'm not going to be losing any, capacity credits or anything, because I will be able to isolate the tower. They'll fix one side of the tower, while if anything happens, I'll still be able to run on the other side of the tower. We'll fill it, they'll fix the other side. This is the company says 5 years. Lincoln Duncan, who is our engineer, has had several other places that have done the same thing, said that they get anywhere up to maybe 7 years of life on it. The cooling tower was 20 years old. It was at a point where anything could happen to it. I've talked to Ruth, and there's a way of starting to put into an account for the city's benefit, trying to put some money aside. A new water tower, or new cooling tower at this time, is approximately $120,000 for a new one. So what I was going to try to do over the next few years was to put so much back for you guys, or for the city, so that when it does come to the time that it's going to be replaced, the next person in charge is not going to have, you're not going to be running around going, where am I going to come up with $120,000 for this? As far as the inside work, 6 and 7 are 2 new cats. They've been, we just had our maintenance on them with our maintenance agreement. They both checked out fine. 5 was ran yesterday. Ran for its 2 hours test. Everything is fine on that. Going to the meters part of it, in the last 2 months, we have put in about 67 electric meters, the radio read meters. In my case, and the lineman's case, it's much easier. They're either on the house or on a pole. So we knock on the doors. If there's no one home, we go ahead and change it. If there's someone home, we let them know you're going to be out for a few minutes. So, you know, if you have a computer on, we give them enough time to turn the computer off. We've got approximately, probably close to about 450 to 500 electric meters put in. I'm buying them, Larry's letting me buy them at about $24 a month. I'm trying to get sections done. So I don't know how you're familiar with how we read, but from Monroe Street, American Legion, the whole outside of town, I have about 24 meters to do. And then everything on the outside of the town, which would be like 54, it'd be the sewer plants, that side, down past Casey's and all that will be done. And that's one of our biggest routes. And then we're starting, we've got, anytime that we do a disconnect of any type for non-payment or per owner wanting it disconnected, at that time, we just change them out to a radio read. We just don't, no question, we just do it and turn the paperwork in and we have it done. The guys are really, you know, I make up several 3 boxes and the guys go out and change them out. So, I mean, it's been working out really well. Of course, when it's 20 below 0 this winter, we didn't go out and change any, but we are in the process of getting a lot of those in. And again, if I do a recondition, they're like $42 a piece. If I have to buy new ones, they're $60 a piece. But I've tried to, with Larry's help, put so much, we're trying to make sure that I get enough in there that we can continue to at least buy at least anywhere from 24 a month, maybe a little bit more. We're going to use the money that we had from the lawsuit with Ameren through the IMEA to do the tower work. That was put under your revenue. There should be like 58,000 in there. So that will be directed to whichever line item I decide to, or with Ruth's help, to take it out of. And so the money is there for that. When you guys were talking about meters, about not running, or, you know, the lost revenue, every time, and you can ask Sandy, every time that bills come out, we get a list, 5, 6, 7, 8, test my meter. I'm not going to say 100%, but I've been here for 31 years. An electric meter will stop working. It never hardly slows down. I mean, we have an excellent meter tester thing. Most of the meters test out anywhere from 98 to 100%. So people just don't realize that they use a lot of, if it's cold and it's their electric heat or whatever, it's a lot of money and lots of electricity, which especially if you have electric heat. A lot of places in town have electric heat, so it makes their bills a lot higher. Of course, we did have an increase before I was in charge, so I know that the electric rates are up there fairly high, so, there's nothing I can really do about that. So what I'm looking at trying to do is to try to do for the rest of this year into next year is just making sure that I stay as close to the budget as I can, and there's a lot of stuff I don't know. And there's a lot of EPA rules, but these guys are coming in that our linemen are coming into. They are really going to get down to a point where a line person going up into a bucket truck is going to have full protective gear with masks. It's really getting to a point where, again, there's going to be a lot of expense just to make sure that your person doing your work can even go out and do the work. So, it's just something to look at. I've got several proposals from BHM&G that have already been implemented in some places. But, we've got 3 to 5 years on some of this stuff, and I'll get that kind of stuff to Larry so he can take a look at it. But I hope I can, work with you guys and do the best I can in getting this under control. And like I said, I haven't done it, so give me a chance and I'll try to do my best to help you out.
Well, Wally, you've been around long enough, you know enough about what's going on, you're just not, and you will get it, and I think you're a good man to be in a position, I think.
I appreciate it, and I really, like I said, between Mark and I, we're going to try to do, what we can. We're working with, Mark's working with the fairgrounds right now. I don't know whether any of you, they have issues with their electric and with their water, but we're working with them. We're going to try to figure out what we can do to help them. But again, until Mark can really get back to going, it might be a little bit longer on that. So, but be assured that we are talking to them and we are trying to do what we can to help them out, as we do anyone. That calls, we try to do what we can.
I'm just sitting here thinking, I get the impression that some of our supervisors don't think we know what's going on. Larry does a fine job of doing a manager's report. Do you guys get a copy of that manager's report that's coming to us?
He usually just informs us what he's, letting us.
But I think you guys ought to know what we're seeing. That way you know what we've seen.
We watch the videos and stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We'll start waving.
Wait more at it.
They're leaving it up to Lynn. Let me emphasize some stuff here that talking with Mark and Wally's been included in some of this too, is that the outside guys, first of all, a big ticket item for them is a new bucket truck. Those bucket trucks have got some age on them. They have to pass certification several times a year, but they do want the truck that in particular that Russ Pearl operates. That thing is starting to get pretty vintage. You're looking at $150,000 on up to replace that truck. That's on the wish side. You could probably get by another year or so, but you don't want to wait too long. Then that truck depreciates and it's not worth anything. Outside work down between water and green, 400, 500 block, 600 block area east. Back in there, the primary line runs back in behind those houses. They can't get back in there with a truck. They did get back in there a couple of years ago, and I know we reported this to you. I don't know if you remember or not. Ruts pretty bad. We had a lot of neighbors upset. And so they want to have that rebuilt into an underground line back in through there. Get all that out of there, clean that up.
And where's that at again?
It would be down behind Rennie Holmes's area, down back towards Sharon Steiger, the old Nazarene Church, Bruce Gamage area. There's a primary line that's back in there. There's houses back in there now. They've planted trees back in there.
Is there an alley?
No.
Don't believe so. I think it's just all easements on there.
I remember that 2 years ago, we had a big fiasco on that.
Yes.
We had to get back here and do our job, I guess.
Yes, and so that is a pretty major rebuild for those guys, but that is something that they want to tackle this year. The Casey's thing that Wally had talked about, that'll be some time invested in that. The transformers, Casey's pays for the transformers, so that's not a budgeted item. Whenever you have something like that, a project, then they get paid for that, so Casey's will pick the tab up on that. There is an underground system that they want to build on the west side of town, out behind the nursing home, that'll feed back into the lift station, or substation, that is just off of Water Street that continues on out to the subdivision. And they've talked about doing that for quite a while. There's an old set of lines that's run behind those houses. There again, between the houses and the field, it's very difficult to get back in there with any type of equipment. When the line was put up, it was great, but then as time goes on and everything changes. So the outside crew, they've got a lot on their platter. I think that if they prioritize the underground down here on between Water and Green would be top on their list. So they've got some stuff going on this year as well. That's all money that, they got one budget that they play with, so.
The cooling towers, you were saying they're usually last 7 years, is that what you said?
20. What they're recommending and what they're going to do, Bill said it will get us at least 7 years on the
What we had.
maybe longer. It just doesn't. Once stainless steel, once it's been compromised, you can't heal it. You can
Bandit.
get a good coat, good Band-Aid on it, and it should last us a while. The problem with, we had a good maintenance system on it, but we weren't informed of the circulation of the water. Okay, so we had bags of chlorine tablets that we had in the tower, thinking that it was doing a good job by keeping the water clear and clean, but with that water not circulating, the stuff was kind of deteriorating and going to the bottom and just kind of settling, and over the years, it just kind of ate through. It was bad enough that I took one finger like that underneath side, thinking it was just a piece of dirt as a whole. And so,
In a case like that, Wally, I'm in favor of figuring out a way to finance a new one.
and that's what I think with setting up of a thing where I can say, okay, sit down with Ruth, with Larry, whatever, let's put this much over, if we have a 5-year period, if we want to go a 7-year period, so if you want to go try to put $10,000 a year away or whatever, so that when the time does come, because the tower basically won't, you don't have to buy, it's not the expense of, they'll just take the old one off, set a new one in. The piping will all be the same. There won't be, that type of stuff is not, when that was the first time around. The building of the frame and all of that stuff. This would just be the replacing of the tower, the cooling tower itself. And then any parts that are still good, if my fans and my motors and all that stuff are still good, that will be something that I can reuse and I won't have to buy new. So, and Mark and Russ check my motors out every year. They service them for me. So, we keep those, maintain the best that we can, but it's outside, and it's got all the elements, ice, storms, so, it's just.
Now we know, now we can keep doing it.
Right, so we can at least look down to the future for it, so.
But our revenues versus our expenses for the light plant ought to be a lot healthier than what the other two utilities are.
And they are.
They should be.
Because we raised that
Because,
not too
well,
long ago.
your electric utility should be the healthiest utility of them all.
And 2 weeks ago, we completed a response to the Standard & Poor's. I don't know if you've seen it, it's been in the Leroy Presser a couple different times. Leroy had reported about their credit rating, and they were hoping to get it up. We have an A+ credit rating, which is pretty good for a community this size. So as we're spending money and maybe going over budget here or going over budget there, we're not out there floating loans to get this. We're using our own revenue sources. And that was a big thing with Standard & Poor's is, are you incurring more debt? Do you, and so, but no, we're doing it on the funds that we have. If push came to shove and the light plan is solid, we can make some transfers as long as we do pay it back. We could make transfers to a different fund if that needed to be. But
what's your statute of limitations as far as paying it back? You can loan it out.
I think it's 5 years, Willard. I'm not sure, but I honestly think that it's a 5-year window. I have seen that before, and I think we're going to get to an area that we might have to discuss that. But we're doing pretty good. Just so you know, I think Leroy was hoping to get to an A+ credit rating. So, and we are at an A+ credit rating, and hopefully that the answers that we gave them, we'll be able to maintain that. So, as we paint a bleak picture of the sewer fund at times with the water department, just keep that in mind. So, we're really doing pretty good with what revenues we have. So, and as we knock these down, we'll get there.
I appreciate you guys coming. I think,
You're up for Saturday.
Can we talk about, Mac, I didn't cut you off, we need to discuss something in the general fund.
Okay.
This may be where the light plant may become important. If you remember correct, at the last city manager's report, I had said about the condition of the swimming pool. And we're going to try to make some emergency repairs in there, but Fred sent me an email, and he couldn't be here today. He was taken off on a spring break vacation. But we got an estimate to fix the deep well swimming pool, and that came in at $150,000. That's to cut the upper half of the deep well out and make those necessary repairs. Now, we didn't go to the Park Foundation, but I don't think that they have that deep of pockets, and maybe they do.
Go to them.
And we can and we will. But it may be such a thing, general fund's not going to be able to take a blow like that. It may be such a thing that we'll have to do some type of a transfer out of the power plant for whatever portion we can't pick up, and then set up to repay that. But just so you guys know that. There again, we're hoping to get that thing locally repaired so we can get the pool open. And Spirit Corporation said that this fall they would be available. So if we can round up the funding, then that's when we'll make those repairs. And if you ever want to go up there and see how bad this wall is buckled, gladly take you up there. Everybody's got a key to the place so they can do that. So.
You have anything else on general fund?
Not any red flags.
now that Fred's not here, it's another big topic too, is the city streets,
He gave me, if you'd like to know some of the things that he would like to get accomplished, and more it's things that, material items that he needs. It's kind of ironic, when I started here, we went to Danville and bought a new snowplow. That was 38 years ago. We're still using that same snowplow. It's been refaced umpteen times. It's about time to get it replaced. And so that's one of the things, and Fred got an estimate, and it's $9,900, $9,900 for the new snowplow, because it has to be retrofitted on an older truck. I don't know of very many municipalities that will tell you that they've gotten 38 years out of snowplow, so that's pretty remarkable. There's part of the building out there, when we did the light plant expansion, everything and everybody got moved around. The street department took over the old prefab building up on Monroe Street, the large green building, and it actually houses the sewer department vacuum truck up there. That has to be heated continuously, so that truck can roll at any time. they need to build a bigger, better facility to hold that truck inside that building, and some materials in that, and a decent heating system is coming in at approximately $6,000. They're going to do the carpentry work themselves as time allows. You have a question?
No, go ahead.
Okay. As you know, even though that we do bid out mowing to some of the larger areas, the street department does do a lot of mowing. Their zero-turn mower has pretty well wore out, and it's considerably old now, depending on what quality of the zero-turn you get. We did go out last year to Central Illinois Ag, and they had an older model sitting there. It was brand new, but you could be looking anywhere from 10 grand to 13 grand for a nice commercial 60-inch zero-turn. So those are some of the ticket items that he's going to we'll try to incorporate in the new budget year. So, did you have a question about, I was talking about the back truck and it's stored up there? Okay.
What's in that building at the prefect site?
All the street department equipment, so grader, backhoe, pickup trucks, dump trucks, the back truck, and then they did build a heated shop. So during the cold weather months, the salt that they put on the trucks.
Stored out there.
Right.
If they got a concrete floor or dirt?
Yes, it does have concrete all the way through. Yes. They've bought used lights to put in there. I mean, it's some of the stuff has been makeshift. I had thrown an idea out there that the high school is always building garages, and in order to enlarge that, they could actually have more storage space if we could go to the high school and have them build a garage on the front of that green building, which would allow for, quite frankly, the mayor was out there just a couple months ago. There was no bathroom in that building, guys. So they built a makeshift bathroom in the back corner, and you'd chuckle if you went and looked at it. They did the best they could with, just trying to make it work. But you could build a garage on the front of that building, have offices, have a legitimate bathroom facility in there. Wouldn't have to be anything elaborate. Then the entire building could be used for storage. Yes, sir.
Look at a waterless bathroom.
Look at a waterless bathroom.
Yeah, go on the internet, you can find waterless stools, urinals. To give you a place that has a waterless urinal, and I didn't notice until I went there, is where the off-track bedding is in Bloomington. And that took about, saved himself so much in a water bill. I was talking to him, had to go up there and do some work.
I'd have to see that.
I don't want to see that.
I mean, you would be surprised. I mean, you gotta have some place for the waste to go to, but there's no flushing. There's no water used to flush. And the same way with the like a stool, you can get those. So they use these things in the North Woods, far away from here that we're not familiar with. We don't understand what it's like to be out in a remote area and have no facilities. So they put these out in there, and they have one. I know you turn the crank in some way, and then you put something in it, and it decomposed it, and then you spread the compost out. But you had like a building built like so to speak, like an outhouse with a vent pipe going out of it. Yeah. Look it up on the internet. You'll see, they're out there. So something like that, for that area, that would be, instead of septic system or digging for the sewer or whatever else, and I don't know where the sewer is even at on that street. Is the sewer on that street?
Yeah.
It's on Monroe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever. But,
And all of those utilities are inside the building, so.
and that, whatever. I'm just throwing that out there. There is another alternative.
But that would be one way to make an improvement there. The school does build garages, and per se, that's what it would be. Just build one there on the front of that building, and attach the roof, and you'd be good to go.
Shopping together.
So,
You two would shop.
just a thought.
If they would build it like that.
If they would.
I don't know if they would build it like that.
With the superintendent's done, councilman have anything?
Yeah. Well, there's one thing I want to ask about. This is about the fairgrounds. The electrical end of it, we talked about the last meeting. They want the three-phase gone, because they feel that the three-phase, is it constantly move the meter? Is that what it does?
That's what it does. But Mark was going to check in with the rates. There really isn't, according to Mark, and I don't know how to do all the figuring or whatever, but there really isn't a cost saving between the three-phase and the single-phase as far as it is. It's just the amount of transformers that they have out there that they don't necessarily need. So by eliminating some of those will help with the cost. And the way I understand it in talking was that during the summer months when the track and stuff is going, without the three-phase, it's going to cause if you go with the single metering or a single phase, it will cause some issues for the power, not only for the fairgrounds, but for other sections. You know, like residential, could be some fluctuation in some of the voltages. I'm not positive on that, and that's something that, please give Mark a call, have him explain it to you on that. But then on the winter time where if they didn't need those particular things, they could disconnect them, just run what they need to. That would give them a break during the winter months as far as their electric bills and that type of stuff.
Is that hard to do?
As far as I know, no. It's just, would be, keep the power to where they need it and just disconnect the transformers that don't have to feed anything. They won't ever be using some of the stuff because any activities that they have up there, if they would have another carnival down the way, they're hiring all carnivals that have their own electric generators to run. But the quote eliminating of the three-phase altogether is there's not going to be that much of a variance in the cost.
Not the best thing to do for them.
Right.
But it's sit there and disconnect it for them so they don't have such a bill, because that's
Billing
one thing I
during the
heard
winter
is,
time.
yeah, their bills during the winter time.
Mark had said that one of the issues with the utility bills at the fairgrounds is they have so many different transformers because it's been add on over the years, and those transformers are generated, they're energized is actually the correct word, 24/7. So they're feeding electricity to them, which is being metered. And so if he could go through and figure out which of those could be eliminated, there would be a cost savings if they went that avenue. So that was the last that I talked to Mark about the other day. And he did say that going from the three-phase down to the single wasn't necessarily the answer for them. He honestly believes that if they really want to look at the cost savings, they eliminate some of those transformers like Wally said, and that's where they'll see some savings right there.
I don't think they've had that projected to them that way. From what I
No,
understand, of course,
because
I'm talking to one
no, because it's been given to Mark and Russ. It's been given to Mark and Russ, and they haven't gone back with them yet because they're still in the looking it over, trying to come up with something to give back to them. So yeah, there's nothing been taken back to them yet.
Okay, the next thing about the fairgrounds is the water. They got a water leak up there.
Yes.
And they can't find it. Calvin, what do you know about this?
Exactly that. I contacted a gentleman from Illinois Rural Water. We had him out here when we had some leaks when I first started back at the end of the last winter, which was a really bad winter. We had him search the town, and I had him at that time go out to the fairgrounds, and we found a couple of small issues. This new problem appears to be a little bit bigger. When we recognized it, we went to them and shut the water off. It's currently off. In trying to get this guy to come back again, we belong to the Illinois Rural Water Association, so his service to us is free. However, we don't own the fairgrounds, so I want him to come and take a look around. I don't know if he hasn't gotten back to me. He's been out there before, so he's familiar with it. This is a pretty good sized leak. It was leaking about 14,000 gallons a day when we discovered it.
Now, when it's leaking, I don't know if the meter's the issue, because you can hear it running, can't they?
We can see the meter turning.
You can kind of somewhat feel it too. I mean, it's a pretty good shot of water.
We put a geophones on the meter, you can hear it going, it's going through the meter. When you shut the meter off, the meter stops. When you turn it on, it starts moving.
Okay, now correct me, because I'm talking to people and I'm trying to understand this whole thing, because it doesn't happen all year. It's sometimes out of the year that it happens. And other times
It happened and then it stopped and then it didn't happen for a while, and then in like January or February is when this thing started again. So this is, when I went out there originally, I think they were skeptical about the metering and those kind of things, but Rick Cornelio and I have been I go there and talk to him, and Larry and I have discussed it, and he spent quite a bit of time staring at the meter, and I think he's pretty well convinced that, there's water going through the meter, and it's going somewhere. Now, there's a lot of field tiles out there, and there's a lot of water main. If you go out there, your yard hydrant's going everywhere. So somewhere along the line, someplace, water's finding a tile and not coming to the surface.
Yeah, it has to be, because with 14, with that kind of water going through one a day, that's a tremendous thing. But some way,
I'm going to get it done.
they are a customer. So we need to try to help them out in trying to find this as best we possibly can. And, they've got people who have their own backhoes and everything, some of those guys do, so.
And they're talking about going out there and just digging, but that's kind of, that's a pothole for a week is kind of tough, and they're not on city sewer, so the way we found ours was we looked in manholes and we got a leak that was leaking 90,000 gallons a day, and not one drop of water came to the surface, so it's not.
I can think of one in the past, back in the late 80s, we had a drought. It's coming in from south of town, there's a tile that goes into the creek, and it was running pretty strong. We're not having any water for about the last 8 months, and it was a main that was leaking off into the tile and going right in. So yeah, that can happen, because there's field tile probably all over that property out there.
And we've thrown several suggestions at it, and I told them about field tiles, and they're like, no, there's no field tiles up here. And I'm,
No,
gentlemen, there's field tiles all over that place up there.
there's field tiles every place.
So
they tiled the countryside in days gone by.
I'm gonna try to get a guy out here, and we ourselves, and Chad and myself, we walked around, we have geophones, and we walked all, but you can't, that's a big fairgrounds, we can't cover every inch of that. And they have so many yard hydrants just scattered all over that place, and we've looked in the buildings with them, and so if I get the Illinois Rural Water guy up here, if he calls me back, he can go, what he does is he listens to the meter, and then he listens around. There's different leak detector services too, but
Where's the main at for that?
the main comes in there, right there by Built a Trailer Park. The meter pit is right there at that gate.
And what size line is it that comes
It's a
in?
2-inch,
2-inch feet?
2-inch feed. It's got a 2-inch meter on it. They tell me it's PVC. It comes in there and it turns right and goes into the fairgrounds. And then there's service lines that just feed all over. It's plastic with no tracer wire on it. So I can walk out there and reach around and kind of guess, but nobody really knows exactly where it is.
I think that this is just something off the top of my head about this right now. But to help them, of course, they're going to help themselves. But if we did something as far as from the meter, just say, boom, cut off. Cut the line right there. We're going to put a new line in for you. We're going to go to this point. We'll do it this far. Then you guys are going to take it from that point and go on. We can sit there, as we did it, we could put in, what I want to say, hookups, where they come in, they just hook into it and they can run it off, but then they have a line going across. This goes down that drive and goes back to the old horse barn and everything. Take that down there and then block it off someplace. But then they can have lines that go off, and then they'd have to map it. And like you said, maybe you put a tracer wire on, so what you do, so you can track these things in the future when it comes down to it. I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking out. This is my thought right now. Of course, they got to look at money too to find out where we're not going to pay for that. I'd be in favor of helping them out to a point, so they can get the burden off their back. And then just make sure they put the the hydrants where they need to have them, and no more, and they know where they're at, so they got a map of the ground and everything, because nobody ever made a map of the ground in the past. That's happening, because the livestock barns used to be down there where the ponds are at, and,
And that's another thing that Larry's brought up to me several times, that he thinks there used to be yard hydrants down there by.
Well, there was.
By those, well, if you tell.
that's where they had the,
them-
that's where they had all the livestock barns, was down there at the north end.
They don't even look there.
We've given them suggestions, and, you know, so here's the other side of it. What do we do with what they have on the books? What do we do with that?
Well, we might be eating something, maybe. Might have to sit there and just say, well, okay, we'll let this one go, but we're gonna fix it, and the next one's gonna be let go.
And that's fine, and I gotta tell you that I have no ill feelings against them, but just like last weekend when they turned it on, how many gallons of water did they use for their practice?
3,000 cubic feet, so whatever.
20,
7.48, that's 20-some thousand
for a
gallons.
practice run on a weekend, you know, so.
Water is used for what?
They
They just turn it
For the
on?
They
bathrooms.
turn it on, and then, at least now they're turning it back off. When we had issues before, I gave them a wrench, I told them to turn it off, and I'd go out there on Monday, and the thing would still be on.
And to some extent, yeah, I understand what you're saying. If they don't wanna help themselves, then we're gonna sit there and, because I'm not overly fond of a lot of things that's happened out there anyway, and this will bring up another topic with me too here in a minute. Because if they want something, I want something back. And what I want back is I want those ponds back. Now, I don't want to see any more dumping going on out there, and we can stop that and everything. Because this dumping all got started because of us, of the city, and not anybody in this room, but, you know, in days gone by, that's where we're gonna take all the brush and dump it. That was the sad thing about that out there. But those ponds were put in for the use of the community and everything, and they were stocked with fish. And I'd like to see us go back out there now. Of course, that becomes another issue, which brings up another issue with me too, and that's Park District, which I think that this town needs to look at. If we want to take care of everything, because we got so much of a burden at South Park and all, to take care of all this stuff. So if we want all these things, these people who are all fighting for that, should be willing to sit there and circulate a petition to put the Park District on the ballot and have it voted in.
Okay, well, back to the original thing, the action plan right now is to get a leak guy down here, try to find the leak, maybe dig it up and fix it. That's
So
what-
they
that'd be,
use a bunch of water just turning the restrooms on.
Yeah, because that leak is existing, you know,
See,
so when they turn it on, right now,
I wanna, believe me, I wanna help the fairgrounds. I don't want it to get out that I'm against the fairgrounds, but we went through a big whoop-de-doo here a few years ago so they could have the fairgrounds. And they've got to take care of some of these things on their own. But I'm not opposed to helping them.
I'm not either, and I wasn't in favor of what happened and everything, but I'm not opposed to helping them, but they're gonna have to sit there and help take care of themselves, you know, and I'm just.
On this, though, we've kind of lost our focus. The purpose of the meeting is for the budget, and this is a major issue that we need to deal with, but if we could get back on topic.
I think it is part of the budget, Mike. I think it comes down to that too. So it's gonna have to be fixed, and it can be a budget issue.
No, I absolutely 100% agree with you, it needs to be fixed. I met with them when we thought it was the meters. We set up a second meeting so that we can meet with them. Of course, we were offering to, or at least cut the water bill in half from last year. So I'm absolutely willing to work with them. I just want to make sure that we're staying on focus in regards to the future budget, the one that's coming up.
Well, my concern on this deal is if we're losing that much water, that's a bad deal.
Well,
That's
Right
that's-
now, if they know there's a water leak and they turn it on
Right.
themselves, they're eating that money.
Well,
Every time they do,
race
they
season's
eat that money.
getting ready to
That's
start,
where
guys.
it comes into the budget thing.
we don't
They
get,
should pay for that.
That's their budget.
That's, yeah.
I mean, nobody, I guess the way to put this is, nobody wants to get thrown under the bus. You guys know that there's a leak up there, and it is a big leak, and there's money on the books. We've offered to work with them, but race season's starting. If there's not any action going on up there to correct it, and we can only do so much. I mean, you know, keep in mind, it's private property. We gotta be careful what we do up there, but we've offered. Are we gonna go all season, and you know, what corrective action does the city wanna take to work with these guys and say, listen, you just can't go out there and turn it on every time you need water? That's the thing. And,
We charge them.
No, what's going to happen, what could very well happen in regards to this is they could go the entire year and they get a bill that's just unmanageable. They just won't pay. They can't pay. I mean, right now they're at 7,000, 8,000, how much, it's huge.
He knows what it is.
It's a huge bill. You go into the raceway, you're talking 30, 40,000. I mean,
It's in arrears from last year. Those are the bills from May and June when they had a problem
it's
last
big,
year.
it's a big bill, it's a big problem.
I've sent them letters, we went and talked to them, we had a meeting set up, guys, and they canceled the meeting on us. I mean, we're trying to work with them.
Right.
Nobody's playing hardball, but, you know.
This is what they got when they wanted to get the fairgrounds. This is part of what was, I mean, I'm coming back because I didn't like the way the whole thing went down. It's just, if it's still our property, then maybe we can get a little bit more responsibility to it, to take care of the infrastructure on the inside. But it's not our property. I'm not against them either. I mean, I want to see it succeed as much as it possibly can, but they're going to have to, and if we can do something to help that, if we can get like a temporary thing, like, I don't know, maybe what I was talking about, just have a straight line come through, you branch off of that, or go down and they can,
But then they have to run new lines into
That's
each
true.
building and that.
That's true. That's true.
And that ain't gonna happen this year, I can just,
They'd have to do something different as far as their waste facilities go and everything. They have to bring in porta potties. They can't use the.
they need to take immediate action up there, they really do.
Larry, can you reach out to them and set up another meeting that I'm
Sure.
involved and see if we can't, do what we can to work with them, but at the same time, we have to express. The city cannot just
Well,
wait.
I'm a little disappointed that we got a race a week from now, and how long's this been going on?
We've been
Years.
working with them for a year. For 6 months, they did not pay a water bill. They argued the fact that it was a defective meter, and, I mean, we have tried and tried.
And this, don't mean to jump in, but as far as the electric thing about that down there, knew nothing about it until just less than maybe 2 weeks ago. Did they approach, they called the light plant and they talked to Mark. And then they called Larry, and Larry came out and talked to Russ. We had never known that there was an issue with their, as far as their power wise. We didn't know that there was a problem with their, their bills.
Well, I'm pretty in touch with the fair board, I'm a race nut, and I've never heard this before. Now, we got this big race coming up, and they're gonna be up there for 3 days at least, maybe 4, so then we're just gonna lose all this water. Just gonna leak,
We're not losing water.
or where, it's going somewhere.
We don't own any water line past the meter, I can tell you that.
No, well, we'll set up a meeting.
But they should pay for it.
Yes, I agree. I do have a question. When can we have the first draft of the budget?
I would like to tell you that, within 2 weeks.
Okay.
We're working on it, but as you know, there's been a multitude of other things too.
Because as soon as we do, I'd like to set up another one of these meetings as soon as possible. So, does anyone have any other thing today in regards to the budget?
This is something I got at the
Yes, sir.
municipal league convention. These are different ways to finance stuff. Of course, there's the bonding issue, which is one of the most popular things to do, but there's other things you can do, special assessment. It's kind of like we're talking about Maple Street. If we wanted to do that down there, you can do a special assessment onto the properties down there, probably. Something has to be, I'm not saying you can, but I think it's something that needs to be looked at. I know that in the past, one of our administrator managers that we had, he was talking about where he lived at, in an area they had to do a special assessment because they had to do some major repair in his area, and so he was special assessed. Now, the way you can collect this money back is, it's just for those people in that area. I'll give you another example. In my end of town, when the sewer went down and everything, and it failed, it had to be rebuilt. A special assessment could have been done there for the people in that area, and that could have come back onto our water bill on a monthly basis, so we could have bonded on it. We would have paid it back over a 20-year period or something like that, or it could come on the real estate taxes as an addition onto that. But there's ways to do these things, and and people have to understand that that we have to fund it because something's going to go up if it's not. And not saying we don't have to have increase in water rates or sewer rates as a possibility too. I'm just giving you an example, but there's all kinds of ways to do that. And I don't know what else I'm doing here. somebody, it was a TIF thing, was there at the thing, they knew about us.
Can I borrow this?
Sure you can.
Thank you.
But at the municipal league convention, I do think it's worth going to because you go to these seminars, and it's been so far back, I can't remember what seminars I did go to. That one about the funding was the one that I really wanted to get in on, and the guy who led it is somebody that's been around for a long time, because you get to know who these people are, and they're all municipal attorneys that lead these meetings and everything. And if you want to look at this stuff, you can.
Yeah, for sure.
They're the ones who lead the meetings and everything, and you have some of the mayors that are involved in the municipal league, they are facilitators for it, and get it going and all that. But it's worth going to see, because you have a vendor exhibition where you can see people around there that may be things that you'd be interested in as far as hiring them in the future for a tap or some reason, to fix something.
Very good. Entertain a motion to adjourn. All,
Pardon?
yes,
McKinley? Jenkins?
yes.
Colin?
Yes.
Earl?
Thank you for this, sir. I'll put it forward.